Alright, this is an F-class shoot that I did back in June, June 16th of this year, 2013. This was done in Grand Forks, North Dakota, at I think it's the Grand Forks Rifle Club. They got a nice range out there with a 3 and a 600-yard F-class, and they got covered benches and stuff, but this is the 300-yard line. I didn't quite have time to get my stuff set up right away, so I'm messing with my front rest while I should be shooting. At this point they just opened up the firing line so you could shoot, but I was kind of on a bad spot, and I modified my rest a little bit a few days before, and I couldn't quite get it straightened out, but it worked. I was on a little bit of a wobbly front rest, but I kind of struggled through it, I guess. These first 5 shots are going to be my sighters. That first shot, I just put on a brand new scope on this rifle. This is a 280 improved. It's not an Ackley improved. It's actually a 280 RCBS, which is, I think it's a 28 or a 30 degree shoulder. If you look there, I'm adjusting the windage. I think my first shot was a 6, so I'm cranking over. I was probably to the left, because if you look right in front of my scope there, you can see there's a wind flag out there halfway down the course, and it was blowing pretty good that day. It was probably I was adjusting for around 20 or 22 miles an hour. It picked up a little towards the end there. If you watch that flag towards the end, right now it's kind of not quite straight, but it's getting there. Also, if you look at the grass on the ground, the grass isn't all that long, and it's moving around, so we had quite a stiff wind out there that day. It was about a 90 degree wind from the west, so in the camera here and the targets were facing south. My second shot there, I believe I was on an 8, so I cranked it over a little bit more, and I can't remember, I got four sighters written down here, so I must have only did 4, because my last 2 would have been this one. That was a 10, and then my last one here was an X, so I was sighted in, ready to go. Of course, I'm still messing with my front rest. That's a big issue you don't really want to be dealing with when you're actually shooting, because that's a big waste of time, and your rest should be pretty solid. It shouldn't be. You can see when I close my bolt there, it wiggled a little bit, and it was a pain. I just dealt with it. I got that fixed now, so I shouldn't have that problem in the future. So there are my 4 sighters I did. In these competitions, these are just local practice matches, actually, what they call them here. They allow you to do, usually it's up to 5 sighters and then 20 for record. Once I get going, I kind of like to try and shoot, reload my rifle, get it ready to go, and then I'll shoot again once a target comes up, and then I'll look at my score from the previous shot, and then I'll write it down. And then I try to do that after every time I fire, because the next time the target pops up, that'll be my previous shot. So shoot, get your shot done right away, and then you can write it down in between times, because it takes a few seconds for those guys to pull the target down and mark it. So that's I'll just kind of let it roll here, and you guys can kind of watch. This wasn't the best time out. I also had problems with my scope. I did a kind of the number one cardinal rule of before you go out to a match is checking your equipment over, which I didn't do. This is a new scope I mounted on this rifle, and I just set it on there a couple weeks prior, and I kind of just snugged it down, and I didn't tighten it down. So I found out afterwards, because my scores weren't quite what I thought they should be, that I got the rifle home and I set it on my bench, and I was curious as to why my score was so bad, so I checked that all my scope rings, and my scope rings were loose. So I forgot to tighten it down before I even got there. So that scope was wandering around a little bit. And so I ended up dropping quite a few points from having a bad scope mount. So one thing to do before you go to every match is just make sure you got everything and check it over good and make sure everything's tight. Especially if you put a new piece of equipment on or you're trying out a new piece of equipment, just double check it. Never hurts to double check things. So I'll let it roll here and you guys can kind of watch me finish this round out. I think we were shooting at 300 here. This is the first half of at 300, and then we went out to 600. Like I said, this is a 280 improved. I was shooting the 180 grain burgers, VLDs, not the hybrids, but just the standard 180 grain burgers. It was shooting at, I think I'm shooting that one at around 2950 for velocity, and I'm only bringing it up. I'd have to look in my records, but I'm not bringing it up too much at 300. It's a pretty flat shooting round behind that 280. So. I don't know if you guys can hear any talking in the background when it's actually playing, but there's usually a range officer, then a guy in the pit, and they're usually got, around here anyways, they got walkie-talkies, and they're talking back and forth and checking to see, double checking scores and making sure that the pits are cleared or the line is hot or ready to fire, and just making sure everything's done safely. If you have a problem with your scoring too, and you think a score is wrong or somebody crossfired or something, they can relay that down to the pits, and then they'll try and get that corrected for you as soon as possible. It's usually kind of a bummer when either you get a crossfire or you get a bad score, or not necessarily a bad score, but because that's your own doing, but a wrong score, which does happen sometimes. Some of these matches, there's some new guys out there. Every once in a while, they're obviously there to learn, and we encourage everybody to come out and shoot. But it might take a time or two to get accustomed to scoring and stuff, because it's it's not very difficult, but in kind of the heat of the moment, if you're out there for your first time, it can be a little overwhelming, but it's not nothing too difficult. It's not all that serious, especially in these practice matches. So and that's also a good time to learn with these practice matches is what to expect if you ever want to go to an actual shooting event or competition. So you guys can kind of just watch and I'll play the sound on the actual video, and you kind of hear the wind, and you can see the flag is whipping there pretty good, and just watch. And I don't got too many more shots. I got, I don't know, 4 or 5 more, probably not even 4 or 5 more rounds to go yet. So at this point, I'm almost finished up. So hope you enjoy watching the video, and check out my other videos too. Some are informative, and most of them are informative. So alright, thanks.
Sure. Yeah. This one here is mine. Is that a crossfire or what? It's a really, I'm only shooting 107 minutes, but oh, okay, look at my rod. Somebody crossfired. Did you shoot my target? Yeah, I do. Very on button. Oh, yeah. It's kind of like a VR, whenever you stop it, they shoot.